Hey, Fury Jim, what type of trans fluid do you use in a stock forward look car? And what problems could arise if you use the wrong kind?
The main issue with the iron era transmissions, the Power Flight and the Torque Flight, used from 55 through 61, is they respect for Type A. And Type A, unfortunately, is no longer available in its original formula. There is Type A available that's used in the farming industry still. It's also closer to traditional ATF that came out around the same time in the hydromatic era. And the third option you have for a stock forward look car, if you know for a fact your trans was never rebuilt, or if it was rebuilt prior to the mid 80s, would be Type F. And to many people's wrong attribute, they say Type F is for Ford. The F means friction modified, which is a different coefficient of friction, which actually improves your shift. A firm shift isn't an issue. A firm shift shows that your clutches are engaging, or in some cases your band, are engaging very efficiently. So the problem with using ATF plus 4 or any of these 90 spec fluids is that the detergents in the modern transmission fluid dissolve I think it's actually a phenolic glue that was used on the clutches and bands of the iron era transmissions. And I've had plenty come across the bench that basically were working fine until a fluid change, and then within 5 to a couple hundred miles, the trans essentially stops. It starts with a few slips, a few late shifts, to the point where the entire clutch lining and band lining clogs the screen, and basically your trans is just dead. So you want to avoid any of the modern fluids, and if you're going to change a fluid in a car that you don't know whether it's been rebuilt, or you know for a fact it's never been rebuilt, you'll want to go with a Type F, or try and find a Type A that doesn't say compatible with Mercon 4 or ATF plus 4. Mercon 3 is the last safe fluid you could use, as long as it's an older example. So for instance, I have these that I procured that were made in the 90s. That's safe for an early transmission. Something like this is safe, ATF. You can see it says Mercon Dextron 3. That was a spec that's fine, that won't hurt anything. And of course, traditional, that's Type F. And that's also a 90s product, that's okay. And this is also safe. This is a semi-synthetic racing fluid. That's not necessarily necessary in a stock transmission, but this is my choice for all the high performance transmissions that I build, right up to and including the 65 727 I built that's behind a Demon 170, pushing over 1,000 horsepower. So this is a go-to. For high performance but lower horsepower, for instance, this 512 stroker that only makes around 600 horse, the Schaefer synthetic transmission fluid is actually a very good choice for any stock through mid-range performance rebuild. Very nice product. So that being said, if your Torque Flight's been rebuilt post 1985, I would still err on the side of using Type F. If it's been rebuilt in the past 10 years to recently, essentially any fluid is okay because of the type of clutches and glue that's used to bond the linings. Keep in mind too that if you have stock bands, they could be affected. So clutches and bands, any fluid goes. Stock trans, Type A, true ATF, or Type F are your only choices in a stock Torque Flight or Power Flight.
All right, thank you, Fury Jim.